Greetings. My name is Louise Dente, and I welcome you to yet another edition of Cultural Caravan. On this edition, we're joined by Dr. Umar Johnson. He's a certified school psychologist and doctor of clinical psychology. Welcome to Cultural Caravan.
Thank you.
All right. In our first half, we talked about education and the work you're doing around education. But let's even go further. Several years ago, you made a decision to not just talk about education, but to actually create an institution. What inspired you? What was the response? And where are we now?
I was inspired simply by the fact that having been a school administrator before, I didn't like the way our children were being educated. And even more than that, I didn't like the way they were being treated. So I decided I wanted to open up my own line of schools across the country to properly educate Black children the way that I feel that they should be taught. And so that's what initially motivated me to open up the FDMG Academy. It had been an idea in my mind for at least 20 years now, but I didn't act on it until 2014 to 2015. And around that time, I had learned that an HBCU in Virginia became available for sale. And that's the St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville. They were selling it for $2 million. And I said, wow, if we can get this 118-acre campus for just $2 million, we're going to be in good shape. Unfortunately, we didn't raise the money fast enough. The school was founded by a close friend of Booker T. Washington and Dr. George Washington Carver, Father Russell. So I really felt we should have kept it in Black hands. Be that as it may, since we lost St. Paul's College, I simply decided that we would continue to raise money and try to open up a day school. And so we were blessed 1 year ago this month on February the 7th of 2019, we were blessed to be able to purchase a 4-building campus in Wilmington, Delaware, which includes 2 school buildings, regular size school buildings, which will be the home of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. So right now, we're raising as much money as we can to renovate the buildings. We have to get the electric system redone, the plumbing system redone, the HVAC system redone, as well as the fire system and the sprinkler alarm system. So if there's anyone out there who is licensed to do commercial electricity, commercial plumbing, commercial HVAC work, or commercial sprinkler and fire systems, particularly for school buildings, please reach out to me by way of Dr.UmarJohnson.com. And you can also donate to the fundraiser at Dr.UmarJohnson.com as well.
What do you say to those who may have not understood the mission or may have gotten caught up with a lot of misinformation over the net?
Well, the first thing I would say, Queen Mother, is I want to thank New York State and New York City for being supportive of me, because a great deal of my donations came from New York, and not just the 5 boroughs, but from all across the country. In fact, I continue to get donations, which can also be sent in by mail, and that information is on the website as well. But for those who have been misled, I would probably encourage them to get their information directly from me. I find that most people get confused and off track with where we are with the school process by listening to people who don't know me, never met me, are not friends of mine, nor are they supporters. So YouTube is filled with a lot of malicious, derogatory misinformation about Dr. Umar Johnson and the FDMG Academy initiative. So all they have to do is listen to me, because as much as I speak, as often as I interview, I give regular updates all the time. So there's no reason why you can't know what you need to know at the time you need to know it. But what I also find, Queen Mother, is some of our people, they just love negativity. They love sensationalism. They love conflict, and they love controversy. And so for those people, no matter how many times I update them on the status of the FDMG process, they're still going to go with the naysayers because they are one of them.
Now, for those who don't know what FDMG stands for, could you please clarify?
The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy for Pan-African Excellence. And I named the school after Mr. Garvey and Mr. Douglas, who this was born in February, and he also transitioned in February, actually today. But I named it after those two gentlemen because I consider them to be the greatest black leaders in each of the last 2 centuries. Frederick Douglass, the 20th century, Frederick Douglass, the 19th century, and Marcus Garvey, the 20th century. And of course, I'm a blood relative to the great Frederick Douglass, a 4 times grand cousin, and I am former Minister of Education for Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League.
So when we talk about this need for us to build institutions, can you basically talk to us about some of the things that once the schools are up and running, what are some of the opportunities that parents who send their children to this institution will be able to share with their children?
Great question. Number one, no parent will be allowed to enroll their child, Queen Mother, unless they themselves acknowledge that they will be enrolled in our parent university. We're going to train the parents as much as we train the children. So they have to be students themselves, adult students, but they will be students nonetheless, because we believe we have to reteach all of our people, not just the children, but their parents as well. So there will be a parent university for the parents of students, but then there will also be a community university for anyone from the diaspora who wants to come and learn some of the subject matter that we'll be teaching to the children, because we don't want a situation where the babies are more knowledgeable than the adults, because that's what will happen if we don't have our parent university and our communiversity. The 6 core curriculum areas at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, in addition to science, language, math, and history, are agricultural and agronomical science. We want to teach them how to grow their own food, how to study the crops. It will be the George Washington Carver Center for Agronomy and Agriculture. Then we also have the financial and economic curriculum, where we want to teach the young men investing, banking, stock marketing, real estate, business planning. We want to make sure that they are economically self-sufficient upon graduation. One of the things that is going to differ at this academy, Queen Mother, and make it radically different from other schools, is we are not a college prep institution. The FDMG does not exist to get black kids accepted into college. And the reason we're not a college prep institution is because we consider that to be too low of a standard for us. And I say that because any child who wants to go to college will get into college, because college is a business. They need your money. So to say that all of my students got accepted into college, it's still worthy of praise, because they could have dropped out. It's worthy of praise, but it's not enough for me, because I know that colleges, are businesses. So we have to go a step further. So we want to make sure all of our young men can go into business on their own in a variety of different areas, and they will learn how. And then we have the dietary and nutritional science curriculum, which is going to teach them how to not only make food, but to make healthy food, and to be able to measure the nutritional content in the food that they eat. Our school is going to be 90% raw and vegan, 10% meat for those who want their children to have some of that. There will also be a military and political science curriculum. Military curriculum, okay, we're going to teach the young men the art of self-defense with and without weapons. We will have a Marcus Garvey Junior Gun Club in keeping with the laws and regulations of the state of Delaware. Political science to teach our young men how the world operates. Why are white people in charge? Why is Africa the richest continent, but the people are in the poorest condition? Where did AIDS really come from? Why was Barack Obama made president? They're going to learn the way that the world works, because we value history in the black consciousness community, but I don't know if we value political science as much. What good is it to know where you come from, but not understand where you are? So we will also have a science of the black family curriculum, where we teach the young men how to be men, how to be fathers, how to be sons, how to be uncles, okay, how to organize your people, how to build up your community, how to treat a woman, how to respect a woman, how to care for a woman. That will be a curriculum. Building the black family is a curriculum at our school. And then the last of those curriculums will be the spiritual and astrological science curriculum. So we will be teaching them the different spiritual sciences that our ancestors evolved millions of years ago. And I am an initiated priest of the Ifa system, which is practiced by the Yoruba peoples of Nigeria. So Ifa will be our foundation. This is green, Ifa is green, so interesting. Ifa will be our foundation, but they will learn the Akan system, the Dogon system, the Kemetic system. We will also introduce them to many of the neo or contemporary black spiritual systems like Nation of Islam, Nawapians, Hebrews, God and Earth. I want them to be well-versed in all of the different spiritual systems. Whether we practice it or not is something else, but I want them to learn how to be able to relate to other people, because this is what? A leadership academy. You can't be an effective black leader if you don't understand other black people's worldviews.
Now, you mentioned young children. Now, if I'm a parent, I live in New York, I want my son to go to the academy that's going to open up. Obviously, for a younger child, I live in Queens, the school's in Delaware. How would I would I have to move to Delaware if I want to enroll? What happens to parents who live outside of the state who want to bring their children who may be elementary age?
Great question. Firstly, I would say that Delaware is a lot cheaper than Queens. So you may want to consider relocating. And even though I laugh at that, Queen Mother, believe it or not, I'm getting dozens of messages from black parents across the country, even in other countries, who are saying the minute that school is open, we're moving there. That's how important education is to our people. So I do anticipate there to be a black migration to Delaware so that children can access the school. But for those who can't relocate, we do plan on opening up a virtual academy platform, which will allow for a cyber school program. So if your child is in Queens and can't physically be in Wilmington, they can join in Wilmington by their laptop through camera, which will allow the class to see them and allow them to see the class. And so now they're right in there with their classmates. But I do want to be clear though, even our cyber students will be required to come to class in Delaware a couple of weeks out of the year. So basically, Queen Mother, out of the 4 quarters of the year, they will be required to be there for at least a week. And we will arrange with the local hotels if we ourselves haven't already purchased some homes, because I plan to get a couple of homes and refit them into dormitories. So when our virtual students come to the campus, they'll be able to stay in the dorm with their black men as supervisors over them for the week that they're there. So I'm very much conscious and concerned about how we're going to include black boys in the school system who cannot physically be on site. But I also want to emphasize that this is just the first school though. Once we get Delaware up and running, we still need one in New York City. We still need one in Detroit, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Baltimore, DC, Charlotte, North Carolina, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. We need them everywhere. So once the people see the success of FDMG Campus #1, I'm really hoping that the funding and the supports will come in for us to mushroom campuses all over the world.
Wow. Now, that's important, and certainly for those parents out there saying, wow, you mean that it's great. And I'm certain that there's going to be a need for people to support, to help.
And it will be co-ed too.
Co-ed, okay.
The teaching and staff will be co-ed. So even though the initial school is going to be all boy students, the staff will be co-ed. So if women want to work at the school, they can, and we do encourage black women to send in their resumes. And you can email your resume to fdmgresumes with an S at gmail.com. But it is required though. You must be natural with your hair in order to work. You don't have to be natural to send in your resume. But when you are officially offered a position, you will have to be natural in hair, and you must only be dating within the African community, because we're trying to rebuild our community, and we can only do that with strong black families, which I define as a strong black man and a strong black woman.
Okay, so there is a criteria that.
Oh, yes.
So certainly.
We're going to have to do background checks, Queen Mother, not only an FBI check, not only the state criminal clearance, not only a state child abuse, which is required by law. I'm also going to have to do a Negro check to find out what type of person I'm dealing with, because we can ill afford to let somebody into that school, Queen Mother, who isn't there for the right reasons, or who is there to sow discord and dissent, or who is paid to be there by the alphabet boys that try to bring down the mission. I recognize the threat that this school represents to the American social order. Although we're not breaking any law, you know that you don't have to break law to be a threat if you're black in this country. And so we have to do all we can to protect this program.
So it's definitely a very strong mission. There's definitely a criterion for those out there who are interested in rising to the occasion.
Yes, please rise. And please donate some more.
Now, in line with that, in terms of lessons from history, reflecting on some of the lessons that our ancestors have left to us, we talk about lessons, whether it be from our Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what are some of the lessons as relates to education that you feel we need to reflect upon as we build this institution of excellence that you propel? What are some of
Well, I give you three on the political side as a leader or an educator. One of them is repetition leads to perfection. Okay, that comes from Booker T. Washington and others. So we're going to drill, and we're going to rehearse and recite and review, because we want our children to be masters of the information. In addition to that, from a leadership side, it is to do your best in the moment and leave the work for that day. In other words, in order to be a leader, your mind has to stay free to constantly receive new people, new ideas, new issues and challenges. You can't do that if you're constantly reviewing and replaying and worrying about a mistake you may have made yesterday or the day before. You have to have the discipline to set your mind free so you can stay in the moment. To be an effective leader, you have to stay in the moment, and you also have to be optimistic. One thing I love so much about Garvey and Douglas, despite all the personal challenges and organizational challenges that they both had to go through, they remained extremely and almost impossibly and miraculously optimistic. And you have to be, because you're constantly around African people who don't necessarily have a positive view when it comes to black liberation. So you have to be the light in the room at all times.
Exactly. And certainly important messages that we need to see. And as we start to talk about educating our children for greatness, and certainly educating our people, because this program is not just about the children, but from the cradle on up.
Yes, from the cradle to the grave.
Very important. Now, I just wanted to side shift as we move into another area of discussion, and that is, as you know, we're also into a very big question of leadership in this country. And a lot of this is the time where people start looking at the black vote and deciding who's going to get that lion's share to take out, the person who's currently there. Talk to us about an agenda that you feel people of African ancestry need to set as people start to vie for our vote. So to speak.
Great question. If I were president of Black America, and I do think we need to get organized and we need to have our own elected leadership, because the self-appointed leadership has been parasitic and exploitative. If I were president of Black America, I would require a Black community caucus where the leading Democrat, leading Republican, leading independent candidate, in this case, Bloomberg and others, they would come to the black community and they would pitch their platform to us directly from a black perspective. And we would talk with them. And then we would get behind closed doors and we would debate who we should vote for. And then we would also meet privately with that candidate to let them know we chose you. So when you win, we want you to know before Election Day, we're the reason you got in. And you're going to hold true to the promises that you made, because if you don't, those same 50 million African American votes that put you in will put you out in 4 years. See, the key, Queen Mother, is for us to unite politically so that we can manifest our power. We are not united as a people. We are organized with the Democrats. We are united with the Republicans. We are organized with the Green Party and the Libertarians, but there is no black platform. There is no black agenda. There is no collective pool of black votes. And that's why we're losing, because in all of these other parties, you're nothing but a secondary consideration. You're a secondary consideration in the Republican Party, a secondary consideration in the Democratic Party. Even in the independent race, you're a secondary consideration because you are a numerical minority. You change that when you bring yourselves together, pull out of these parties and say, we represent the black community only. And what are you going to do for us? With that being said, the black agenda is fivefold, because our 5 major problems have to be addressed by anyone we plan to vote for. And what are those 5? Mass incarceration, miseducation, gentrification, police genocide, and access to wealth. Mass incarceration, miseducation, police genocide, gentrification, and access to wealth.
Do that one more time, please, because of the
Mass incarceration, miseducation, gentrification, police genocide, and access to wealth. Anyone who is running for president who does not have a plan, not a promise, we have to get away from these verbal promises. I want a plan on paper that I can review and critique. What is your plan on paper, Bernie Sanders, for mass incarceration? What is your plan on paper, Michael Bloomberg, for miseducation? What is your plan on paper, Donald Trump, for access to wealth? What is your plan on paper, Green Party candidate, for police brutality? You see, I want to see plans on paper, not promises out of your mouth.
Wow. Now that's important because, as you know, some of our political leadership has already pledged support to certain candidates, and
Which is why we get no respect.
that is a concern because, as you said, the community really hasn't consulted. It's that particular individual saying, I'm giving support, and so forth. So in terms of who actually leads in Black America or African America, what can we do to ensure that the community has more say rather than an individual?
Well, again, I think we have to start implementing systems as opposed to individuals who are supposed to be servants. We have to get away from this messianic model of black leadership because it has not served us well. This self-appointed leader has been a disaster to Black America. And certainly we had some great messiahs come our way. The Garveys, the Douglases, the Malcolms, the Kings, the Meggers, the Fred Hamptons, going back to slavery, the Bishop Turners and the Henry Highland Garnetts and the Alexander Crummels, the Harriet Tubmans and the Sojourner Truths. We've had some excellent self-appointed messiahs who were inspired, I believe, by divine guidance. But in a post-Dr. King era, almost every self-appointed leader in Black America has been a disappointment. So the time has come for us to now create a system of training our leaders and a system of selecting our leaders and a system of holding them accountable. Until we begin to hold our leaders accountable, they will never be loyal to us.
Well said, as always. Well, you know, the time just continues to move, but you know, the information is timeless. And certainly on behalf of Cultural Caravan, Dr. Umar, we want to sincerely thank you for the work you're doing, the sacrifice, the struggle, and the commitment to our community. because it's so important that our people know that they have someone, in this case you, to really go to. And I know that if people take advantage of the opportunity to be part of the Black Parent Boot Camp, or to take an opportunity to support the educational initiatives, we'll go a long way, and certainly that. So again, for those who want to find out more information about some of your initiatives, feel free to share.
Yes, indeed. For the National Black Parent Know Your School Rights Training Tour, or to donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, or to send your resume, or if you have a psychological, behavioral, academic, or mental health emergency involving your child or yourself, and you need to just get some advice about it, I do offer private consultations for parents. Again, reach me on the website, DrUmarJohnson.com, by email, DrUmarJohnson@yahoo.com, and by telephone at either 844-4-Dr.Umar or 215-989-9858.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast, and we continue to encourage you to tune in, to write, and to tell a friend. But until next time, Louise Dente saying thank you. If you would like to support these broadcasts, we encourage you to send contributions to P.O. Box 300851, Jamaica, New York 11430. Thank you.